So, in the introduction to Chapter 1, the writer conveys that it's important to know that interactions between brain and behavior are reciprocal. So, this means that the brain controls behavior, but behavior and experience can also alter the brain and how it functions. So, moving on, it talks about the anatomy and hardware of the brain. So the head contains 86 billion neurons, or nerve cells, which are the basic unit of the nervous system. There are trillions of synapses, or gaps, where the neurons communicate. And the axon is the slender part of the neuron that produces electrical impulses which travel hundreds of miles per hour. So now we move on to what is behavioral neuroscience. So the first to study behavior in the brain were philosophers, and this led to the development of biology and psychology. And then later in the 20th century, the two disciplines merged into biological psychology, and this field relates to bodily processes. Later on, neuroscience became increasingly popular, and further research proved that behavioral neuroscience was a more accurate name for biological psychology. Its main goal is to understand the neuroscience underlying behavior and experience. So there are 5 perspectives to studying behavioral neuroscience. 5 major ones. The first one is describing behavior. This can be structural and functional. Structural meaning what is the behavior, and functional meaning what is its purpose for the organism. These descriptions must be very precise. The second viewpoint is evolution. 2 different emphases of this perspective is the continuity of behavior and biological processes among species because of common ancestry, and species-specific differences that evolved as adaptations to different environments. Conserved characteristics are passed down from a common ancestor to 2 or more descendant species. So, as the brain evolved over time, certain behaviors can be passed down as well, and behavioral neuroscientists can study through evolution the change in behaviors and parts of the brain responsible for them. The third viewpoint is observing the development of behavior and its biological characteristics over the lifespan. So, ontogeny is the process by which an individual changes in the course of its lifetime, or rather grows up and grows old. Observing changes in behavior may give clues to its functions and mechanisms. So as an organism develops and gets better or worse at something or changes behaviors, the parts of the brain that change could be linked to the behaviors, and that's how it can be studied. The fourth is studying the biological mechanisms of behavior. So we just can study how the present body works and how that can relate to the brain. And the fifth is studying applications of behavioral neuroscience. So in other words, many human diseases involve malfunctioning of the brain, and behavioral neuroscience research has alleviated many of these diseases.